Born in 1887, Francis Edward Ledwidge was eighth in a family of 9. They lived in a labourer's cottage in Janeville, near Slane, County Meath. His father, Patrick, was a farm labourer. Unfortunately, he died when Francis was only 5 years old, forcing his wife Anne and the children out to work at an early age. In the midst of the penury, Mother was careful to remind her children that it was not always so. She passed on to them memories of a suppressed culture, of a people dispossessed of their land, of a time when beggars walked the roads with the deeds of their land in the deep pockets of their tattered coats. She told stories of the Ledwidges of Meath and Westmeath. Anne sacrificed much for the sake of her children, but Francis, or Frank as he became known, left school at just 13, and while he continued to self-educate, he laboured at what work he could find. A shop boy, a farmhand, a kitchen porter, a road builder, and as a copper miner. While working as a miner, he became a trade union activist and was sacked for organising a strike. Appointed secretary of the Slane branch of the Meath Labour Union around 1913, he had aspirations of permanent white-collar work. He developed an interest in politics, which were left-wing and nationalist. Ledwidge was a keen poet, writing wherever he could. At the age of 14, his works were first published in the Drogheda Independent. These poems reflecting his passion for the Boyne Valley and the open countryside. Because of his love of nature, he became known as the poet of the blackbird. He won the patronage of the writer Lord Dunsany when he wrote to him enclosing copybooks of his early work. Lord Dunsany, a man of letters already well known in Dublin and London literary circles, promoted him and introduced him to W.B. Yeats and other writers with whom he became well acquainted. Lord Dunsany supported Ledwidge with money and literary advice, providing him with workspace in Dunsany Castle's library. He later helped Ledwidge prepare his first collection of poetry, Songs of the Fields, which successfully appealed to the expectations of the Irish literary revivalists and their social taste for rural poetry. Ledwidge was an eager patriot and nationalist. He was a founding member of the Slane branch of the Irish Volunteers, a nationalist force sworn to defend the introduction of Home Rule for Ireland. On the outbreak of World War I, the Irish Volunteers split into 2 factions. The National Volunteers, who supported John Redmond's call to join Irish regiments in support of the war cause, and those who did not. Francis was originally of the latter persuasion. Nevertheless, having defended this position strongly at a public meeting, soon afterwards he enlisted in Lord Dunsany's regiment, the 5th Battalion of the Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers. Some have speculated that he went to war because his sweetheart, Ellie Vaughy, had found a new love who she later married. But Ledwidge himself wrote forcefully that he could not stand aside while others sought to defend Ireland's freedom. Sadly, Ellie died in childbirth, and despite his interest in a girl called Lizzie, sister of his good friend Paddy Healy, he was broken-hearted at Ellie's passing. he applied for leave to attend her funeral and wrote of his love for her. My true love still is all that's fair. She is flower and blossom blowing free. For all her silence lying there, she sings a spirit song to me. New lovers seek her in her bower, the rain, the dew, the flying wind, and tempt her out to be a flower which throws a shadow on my mind. Ledwidge fitted into army life well and rapidly achieved promotion to Lance Corporal. In 1915 he saw action at Suvla Bay, Turkey, where he unfortunately suffered severe rheumatism. Having survived huge losses sustained by his company in the Battle of Gallipoli, he suffered back problems on a tough mountain journey through Serbia, a location which inspired a number of poems. He continued to write when feasible throughout the war, though he lost much of his work in atrocious weather while in Serbia. He sent some of his output to Lord Dunsany, himself moving about on war assignments, as well as to readers among family, friends and literary contacts. Not many of his poems reflect his war experience, but one titled A Soldier's Grave was written on the occasion of the laying to rest of a comrade killed in conflict. Then in the lull of midnight, gentle arms lifted him slowly down the slopes of death, lest he should hear again the mad alarms of battle, dying moans and painful breath. And where the earth was soft for flowers, we made a grave for him, that he might better rest. So spring shall come, and leave its sweet arrayed, and there the lark shall turn her dewy nest. In 1916 he was dismayed by the news from home of the Easter Rising. In May that year he overstayed his home leave and was court-martialed and demoted for this and for being drunk in uniform. He gained and lost stripes a number of times, and then was posted to the Western Front, where he received back his Lance Corporal's stripe one last time. On the 31st of July 1917, a group from Ledwidge's battalion were road-laying in preparation for an assault during the Third Battle of Ypres. While Ledwidge was resting and drinking tea with his comrades, a random shell exploded in their midst, killing the poet and 5 of his colleagues. A chaplain who knew Ledwidge, Father Davis, arrived soon after and recorded Ledwidge killed, blown to bits. He was buried at Carrefour de Rose, where a memorial is erected to him. He was later reinterred in nearby Artillery Wood Military Cemetery. Killed on the same day, the Welsh poet and soldier Ellis Evans, known as Hedwyn, is buried nearby. His work as rustic poet and soldier poet, once a standard part of the Irish school curriculum, faded from view for much of the 20th century. Its intensity and earthiness, linked to a greater appreciation of the huge commitment of Irish men and women during the Great War, has in some way restored it to life. He is best remembered for his tribute poem to Thomas MacDonagh, the 1916 patriot. In a strange way, this poem is also a fitting tribute to the poet himself, and part of it is inscribed on a plaque on a bridge spanning the River Boyne in Slane village. He shall not hear the bittern cry in the wild sky where he is lain, nor voices of the sweeter birds above the wailing of the rain. poet, soldier and Irishman, Francis Ledwidge, was one of almost 7 million who died as a direct result of the conflict in World War I. In all, there were 35 million casualties during this horrible war. Among the many lives commemorated in the Island of Ireland Peace Park at Mesan is Lance Corporal Francis Edward Ledwidge. He gave his life that we might have life. At the going down of the sun and in the morning we will remember him.